Howdy gang. For this video I'm looking at Crysis 2 Remastered for the Nintendo Switch, published in October of 2021 by Crytek. Originally this game was released in 2011 for PC, Xbox 360, and PS3. And being a 12-year-old game ported to the Switch, this is really one of those games that holds up, honestly. When I talk about Switch games, I usually like to make some mention of how I usually play the game, being that this is a system that can operate in two different modes, both handheld and plugged in. There can certainly be differences depending on the game you're playing. For me, this game certainly feels best using a controller as opposed to just the Joy-Cons. You can get by in a pinch with the Joy-Cons, but handheld, this game doesn't handle that great to me. The controls are a little awkward, and also there's a lot of grand, awesome detail that's being offered here, and it just feels wasted on a small screen. Plugged in, on a big screen, using a controller, this one handles really good. I'm not sure if this one handles quite as good as Halo, Call of Duty, or Destiny, but it feels pretty close. After playing through this game, the handling for me was never really an issue. Overall, this one is pretty smooth. So Crysis 2 is a first-person shooter, and it's set in modern times, but there are some significant science fiction elements. You're a soldier that has control of a nanosuit. This is the uniqueness of this particular game. You get to run around in a supersuit that other people don't have access to, and it's fun to use it. The suit basically looks like you're covered in metallic muscles, and you have this full helmet and mask, so you're secured pretty good in there, and you look sufficiently beefy. It's fun learning to use the suit, and I think the one thing you really have to understand here, hopefully early on in this game, is that you are not Iron Man. You are not wearing a combat suit, you are wearing a stealth suit. You can't just run into every combat situation with guns blazing and hope that you're going to survive. You won't, you'll get cut down. You play a character named Alcatraz that is given this nanosuit from its previous owner, and it happens in the middle of this military operation. There is some crazy stuff going on in the city, and the city is getting wrecked. There's also a military faction that wants you dead, and not too long after, you're confronted with what is basically an alien invasion. The soldiers you fight, they're sufficiently armed, and the aliens certainly look tough enough. For the aliens, their skin is partially transparent, and they look like they have these gigantic manes of hair. It's, I don't know, an animalistic type of alien, I suppose. And they also have some larger mechanical beasts that support them from time to time. I think as far as the villains go, between the military faction that's after you and these aliens, there's enough going on here to keep you busy. I do think I'd like a little bit more variety in the actual alien types themselves, but as it is, this is a good first-person romp, so, I don't know, complaining about having lesser alien variety, it seems kind of minor. You can carry two main weapons, along with grenades, a heavy rocket, and maybe C4 if you have it. There are a bunch of different weapons in this one you can just pick up at random, and the way that you do this actually kind of reminds me of Call of Duty a little. There's a long list of weapons that you can use on any given level, but the truth is, you're mostly going to stick to the one or two weapons that you like, and you can carry those weapons forward through a bunch of different levels. This means I get to the end of the game, and there are certainly weapons that I barely touched. And there's probably a few I never even tried. I don't think that's a problem, really, but it is kind of interesting. I suppose it might help add some replayability to the game, possibly. So the nanosuit. You play a game like this to shoot things and reap the benefits of a high-tech suit of armor. Obviously, it's going to protect you from some gunfire. It's not perfect, but it's definitely some protection. The suit also has an energy meter, and when you utilize different functions of the suit, it's going to drain that energy. When you run out of juice, these special functions you're using are going to turn off. So you're always sort of on a timer of some type, and you're running around trying to keep yourself safe, keeping that in mind the whole time. The suit has some basic functions that you're going to turn on and off as you go, depending on how you like to play. You can press the left bumper to divert energy to the armor. This will give you a period of being tougher, and you can certainly take more damage. It's good to get comfortable using this function because you can turn it off while aiming and shooting, while you're under fire, and honestly, in the middle of a firefight, just flipping it on real quick managed to keep me alive in a bunch of standoffs. It is certainly useful. You can press down on the directional pad and it turns on a nanovision mode, that basically lets you see heat in low-light situations. This became a very common function in my playthrough, because it really helps with aiming in darkness. The other major important function is probably stealth mode, which will make you invisible for a period of time, and it is a lot of fun to deploy. Now, you can play this all gung-ho, shooting everything that moves, but you can also just flip on that stealth mode and run by a bunch of things. Or at least get behind them. You never have enough power to just skirt everything. But you can stealth kill people and aliens, and it's a one-shot kill when you can do that. It might not be the easiest thing to do when there are dozens of enemies around, but there's definitely advantage to using this ability and getting some stealth kills in. Usually I run around and I get myself into a hiding position where no one can see me, and then I'll turn the stealth off, just to let the energy recharge. And then I'll turn it back on and start up again. There are some additional special functions you can turn on with the suit as you go, things you can sort of upgrade, like a better recharge, stuff like that. You gather these points that you can spend as you kill aliens, and you can use them to unlock these sort of abilities as you go. And you can switch between the options depending on how you like to play. These are more permanent options, they just sort of work in the background. They're additional things that are nice to have, but to be truthful, I kind of got to the end of this game, and I didn't feel like I was in any situation where I felt forced to really pay attention to these particular abilities. I guess maybe overall they didn't feel that needed? By the end of the game, I only unlocked half of them anyway. But, you know, I guess they're nice to have, but didn't really need them, I don't think. I think the one thing that really sticks out for me in this particular game is there are a lot of really grand-looking levels here. Some really interesting settings, and you traverse a ton of crazy scenarios. This variety, running into and through a city that is completely under siege, is really kind of impressive. I found myself wondering where this was going to take me next. Also, it really felt long. I'm not sure what the actual hours were, but I really thought I was near the end of this game multiple times. And then it didn't end. It kept going. And I think that's great for a game that's enjoyable to play. And this one certainly was. There are a few other games in this series so far, and there might even be one being made now. The original Crysis was on PC, and for a while actually, this game was a test for how good a computer was for a while. I remember in stores, they used to describe computers or graphics cards as being able to play Crysis on full settings or on specific settings, basically. This franchise was a big deal for PCs back in the late 2000s when it came out. It was really impressive. I think if you're into first-person shooters, there's a lot to like with this one. And it plays better on a console than I would have expected. It's only a solo experience, though. You can't actually play multiplayer or anything like that. But as far as an adventure goes for running around shooting stuff, this is a good one. Well, that's all I have today for Crysis 2 Remastered for the Nintendo Switch. Thanks for watching, and please like and subscribe if this is your sort of thing. Hope to catch you on another video.